You're looking for an app you can draw in. You're looking for an app you don't have to pay for. You're looking for an app that's both of those things and doesn't suck. I'm looking for friends. So let's review 5 great drawing apps that don't suck. Sorry, this is a Wendy's. Didn't you make this video like 4 years ago already? Shh, that video is old. Some of those apps aren't free anymore. Some haven't been updated in forever, and some new ones have come out that are pretty spiffy. Spiffy means really good. Okay, I got it. Some apps are free. Asterisks. Apps like Adobe Fresco. I love that app, but if you want all the cool stuff, you gotta pay for it. Some apps have a free trial. That's not free. I know, right? So I'm not including free asterisks apps. Everything on this list is free. So let's start with number 1, Ibis Paint X. This is an app that you could put an asterisk on, but I'm letting it slide because 1, it's really good, and 2, you can use all of its features for free if you don't mind the ads. If you want to get rid of the ads, you can pay to have them removed, but since nothing is locked behind a paywall, I think this counts as free. One thing I should point out is that Ibis Paint is a mobile-only app, so you're going to find it on Android and iOS, but not Windows or a Mac. So let's talk about those ads. They're along the top, so they do take up some screen real estate. The other place sure you're gonna find ads are in the brushes. Many of the brushes are locked, but if you want to unlock them for 16 hours, you can watch a single video ad and boom, it unlocks everything. Ibis borrows a lot from other great mobile painting apps, like hand gestures. You can use 2 fingers to undo. You can tap and hold to pick a color, pinch and zoom, 2 fingers to pan around. And I like the minimalist, streamlined vibe that they have going on. It's not the prettiest thing, but I find it to be very user-friendly. Many of the brushes that they've chosen here seem to be great for comics and cartoonings, manga illustrations, the stuff that I like to draw, and there's a lot here. You are going to find something that you do like. There's also line stabilization, so you can get smoother strokes. There's really nice clean strokes with the tapering at the end. You know what I'm talking about. Now, along with the comic-oriented brushes, there's also things like screen tone textures for the manga-style shading. These paint on just like any other brush. There's about 40 of those textures to play with. There's even a comic panel maker here. These are just fun. I usually draw boxes, but as soon as you start dragging lines, your imagination takes over and you start thinking of what is possible in terms of layout. There's some other tools thrown in for good measures, things like shapes, tools, rulers. There aren't vector shapes, but there's something kind of interesting here that works more like a shape template. You put down your template and you can draw your shape right there on the page. I'm totally self-taught in art, so when I stumbled upon this YouTube channel thing a few years ago and decided, okay, I really want to teach myself art, I started following a lot of tutorials. They were great tutorials, but I found that many of them would just gloss over some little thing that I never learned because I didn't go to school or study the right thing, or they just would forget to mention something that they consider to be basic common knowledge that I was missing. I started cataloging many of those things and trying to find them on my own, and a lot of those things found their way into my new Intro to Digital Art course. It is designed to be that first course you take that becomes the stepping stone to all of the other tutorials out there. Each lesson is designed to give you a quick win, so when you finish, say, one of the homework assignments, you can say, I did that. And you could take the techniques that you learned there back to your own artwork, or even use many of the sketches that I've included there and practice more. There's a link down below where you can learn more about this new course, and I'd like to thank everybody who's picked it up so far. It has been huge, and it's really helped to support this channel. So on to number 2, Medibang. It's available on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, a handful of smart vacuums. Pretty much anywhere you are, Medibang is there. You may know Medibang by its other name, Fire Alpaca. No? Nobody's heard of Fire Alpaca. Medibang is open source. I think Fire Alpaca is a fork of the original. That is a fancy way of saying copy. The cool thing about Medibang is that if you ever ask yourself, I wonder if it can do this, the answer is usually, I don't know, maybe, oh my gosh, yes, you can. Medibang is the most traditional desktop-like app on this list. It doesn't do anything fancy. It's not breaking any new ground. It's just a nice, competent drawing app that works the way you expect it to work. So if you're coming from an app like Photoshop or Clip Studio, everything will feel pretty familiar. Since this app is largely driven by interface elements and where the tools are, I do find myself having to relearn it every time I jump into the app because it's not my primary drawing tool, which is not something that happens on more minimalist apps like Ibis Paint X I talked about a minute ago, but whenever I need to do something, I just Google, does Medibang have reference layers? And the answer is almost always, yeah, it does. And that seems to be its greatest strength. And when you learn it, like say on mobile and switch to a different platform, it's the same app. There seems to be a fair number of comic management tools here, like Ibis Paint X has that comic panel creation thingamabob. You can find it here too. This also has a comic page management feature. So if you're working on a book or just a really long web comic, you can easily keep track of all those pages within the app. Medibang has a cloud service. I haven't used it, but if you're on multiple platforms, it might be worth looking into. Number 3, Light-brush. This is new to the list this year. It's a browser-based painting app. And some of you may have heard that and said, ooh, browser-based. And yeah, I get it, but these have been getting better. I almost included another one called Photopea, which is a pixel-for-pixel clone of Photoshop. But I found that this one is just more suited for drawing and art. Now, since you're drawing in a browser, you can use it on anything with a web browser, your phone, an iPad, your computer. However, I will say this, the performance seems to be better on desktop computers than it is on mobile devices for me. This isn't the most robust app out there, but it has all of the core features you need to get started. You have brushes, you have some layers, you have a handful of selection tools. So yeah, it's a nice little drawing app. There are not a ton of brushes, but you do have the basics, a nice pencil, some good paint textures. There are some quirks, like when you select a brush, you can't just start using it right away. You have to click the use button first. But once you get used to some of those quirks, you'll be up and running in no time. Number 4 is Paint.net. This is a good painting app for Windows with a horrible website. Do I download it here or here? Maybe I download it here. How about here? In case you're not up for a good old-fashioned game of malware roulette, this is how you actually download it. Step 1, ignore any button that says download. Hit the download link at the top of the page. There are 2 options. It is available in the Microsoft Store if you'd like to pay $8 to support the developer. Always a good idea. Or you can choose the second option and get it for free. Click on the image, ignore another crapware ad, and click on the link to start your download. Last time I made this video, a ton of you said that I needed to try this. It's good, but there is one feature that is lacking that will probably make many of you look for something else. And that is pressure sensitivity to the brushes. It sounds like that in their next big update, version 4.4, they're going to be coming out with that, which is why I wanted to get this on this list. So if that rolls out in the next few months, that could turn this one into a real contender. And the last thing I do want to mention here is right now, Paint.net is only available on Windows. Number 5, I saved the best for last. Krita might be my favorite app on this list. One of my favorite drawing apps, period. Now, Krita you can get on the Mac, Windows, Linux. Now it's on Android. It's on everything except the iPad. It's geared towards digital painting, visual effects artists, but it's versatile enough that if you want to do comics or manga, you're gonna feel right at home. There are a ton of brushes to choose from, and that's part of the appeal here. There's a drop down for sorting these out, and that's gonna make your life a little bit easier if you're looking for just the right brush. I also like that all the brushes have little icons by them so you can see, hey, this is what the tool actually looks like. There's pencils here, pens for inking, lots of paint brushes with different textures, also blending tools and brushes like that. I personally don't need a ton of brushes. I stick with the pretty basic stuff, but for painters and people who just love experimenting here, there's a lot to explore. If you dig a little deeper, you will find some animation features. And when I first saw this, I was kind of surprised at how robust they are. It's just a frame-by-frame animation tool, but it's so well thought out. You have a timeline, of course. You also have some nice onion skinning options, and you can see the outlines of what your previous and next frames were. There's an audio import feature. There's some great streamlined shortcuts that speed up the whole process. And as an added bonus, you can use all of the great brushes that Krita has for your animations. Okay, I'll stop gushing about Krita now, but there is a reason why it is one of my favorite drawing apps and why I recommend it to so many people who are just coming into the digital art space. The only downside of Krita is, since it is so robust and it is a big app that can do a lot of things, you may find it intimidating to learn if you've never touched any digital art tool before. So that is my list of my 5 favorite free drawing apps. What do you think? Did I miss your favorite? Some fell off this year, like Sketchbook, because it went paid. Other ones didn't quite make the cut because I felt like they were holding too much back in their free versions. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching. I'll talk to you in a couple of days.